Before we begin, I want to warn you that this story contains mature themes. It deals with the challenges of new motherhood, family relationships, and infidelity. If these topics make you uncomfortable, you might want to stop watching now. I never imagined my life would turn out like this. I'm 24, a single mom, and my baby, he's just 4 months old. He's my entire world. But every time I look at him, I feel this ache, this reminder of how complicated everything has become. I had to make some hard choices. It wasn't supposed to be this way. His dad. Let's just say he didn't stick around when I needed him the most. When I told him I was pregnant, he said he wasn't ready for a child, and that was it. He was gone. No calls, no support, nothing. I tried to manage on my own, but being alone with a newborn, it's a kind of loneliness you can't really explain. The nights feel endless, the days blur together. And no matter how hard you try, it feels like you're always one step behind. I was exhausted and dismayed. That's when I turned to Ethan. Ethan Calloway is my cousin. We've known each other our whole lives, and he's always had this way of making me feel like I wasn't alone. When I called him desperate for help, he didn't even hesitate. He told me to pack up and move in with him. It felt like a lifeline at the time. He was kind, supportive, and he didn't make me feel like I was a burden. For a little while, it seemed like maybe things were going to be okay. But Ethan and our relationship isn't simple. It hasn't been for a long time. 4 years ago, something happened between us, something that changed everything. It was during a family trip to Italy. I was 20, Ethan was 23. We were in Amalfi that summer, always together, always laughing. He made me feel seen like no one else ever had. And one night we crossed a line. It was just the two of us, sitting by the water, talking about everything and nothing. I don't even know how it happened, but suddenly we weren't just cousins anymore. That night changed the way I saw him. The way he saw me. We never talked about it after that. We acted like it didn't happen, like we were just cousins again. And eventually life went on. But when I moved into Ethan's apartment, those memories, they came rushing back. Every little interaction, every shared moment. It all felt heavy, like there was something unsaid hanging between us. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, that we were just two people trying to survive, leaning on each other because we didn't have anyone else. But deep down I knew better. And I think Ethan did too. I wish I could tell you I made the right choices, that I put my baby first, that I stayed strong and kept my boundaries. But the truth is, I didn't. I let my loneliness, my fear, and my need for something, anything, lead me down a path I couldn't turn back from. That's the thing about the decisions we make. You never really know how much damage they'll cause until you're standing in the aftermath. And for me, the aftermath was just beginning. If you're still with me, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like this. Trust me, there's so much more to uncover. Living in Ethan's apartment felt like a strange mix of comfort and ease. It was a small 2-bedroom place. Nothing fancy, but it was clean, quiet, and most importantly, safe. One of the rooms became mine and the baby's, our little sanctuary. The other room was Ethan's. But most nights we all ended up in the living room together. He'd watch TV while I tried to get the baby to sleep. We'd talk about our days, laughing about random things, and for a while it almost felt normal. Ethan was good with the baby. Too good if I'm honest. He'd hold him like he'd been doing it his whole life, feed him without me even asking, and sing these little songs that would always make my son giggle. Watching them together gave me this strange sense of, I don't know, peace. Like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But then there were the other moments, the ones that weren't so easy to ignore. The way Ethan's hand would brush against mine when he handed me a bottle. The way his eyes lingered just a second too long when I was talking. The way his compliments shifted from casual to personal. He'd say things like, "You're stronger than you think, Lila." Or, "I don't know how you do it. You're amazing." At first, I told myself he was just being kind, that he was trying to boost my confidence. But deep down I knew it was more than that. And if I'm being honest, I didn't hate it. I felt seen, appreciated, even wanted. It was something I hadn't felt in a long time. But that only made it more confusing. I owed Ethan so much. He had given me a place to stay, helped me take care of my son. How could I let my mind go to those places? How could I let myself feel something I knew was wrong? The tension only got worse when his friend Lucas came over. I didn't know Lucas that well, but he had this energy about him, confident, playful, the kind of guy who knew exactly what to say to make you laugh. From the moment he walked in, he was all charm, complimenting my hair, joking about how Ethan was lucky to have such a beautiful house guest. It was harmless, I guess, but it made me uncomfortable. Not because of Lucas, but because of Ethan. I could feel him watching. Every time Lucas made a joke or said something flirty, Ethan's mood shifted. He got quieter, shorter with his words. At one point, Lucas asked me if I wanted to go out sometime. Just to get a break from mom life. And before I could even answer, Ethan cut in. "She's busy," he said. His voice was sharp, almost territorial. Lucas just laughed it off. But I didn't. I couldn't. The way Ethan looked at me after Lucas left, it wasn't just protective. It was something else. Something deeper. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how angry Ethan had seemed, how tense everything felt after Lucas left. Was it jealousy? Protectiveness? Or something else entirely? I hated myself for even wondering. But the truth is, I was wondering, and I didn't know how to stop. Every time I tried to push those thoughts away, they came back stronger. I told myself it was just the stress, the loneliness, the fact that Ethan was the only adult I had regular conversations with these days. But even as I tried to justify it, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were heading toward something I wasn't sure I could control. I've tried so hard to keep that night in Italy buried deep, to lock it away and pretend it never happened. But the thing about memories is that they don't stay buried. They come back when you least expect them, like waves pulling you under. And lately, I've been drowning in them. It was 4 years ago. We were in Italy for 2 weeks. One of those big family trips my parents loved to organize. It was beautiful there. Like something out of a dream. The kind of place that makes you forget the rules. Ethan and I spent every moment together, wandering through cobblestone streets, stealing sips of wine when no one was looking, laughing until our sides hurt. I don't think I had ever felt so free. And then there was that night. We were sitting by the river just talking. I remember how the city lights reflected on the water, how the air felt warm and heavy. We were joking about something, probably something silly, and then, out of nowhere, everything changed. The way Ethan looked at me in that moment, it was like the whole world had gone quiet. Before I knew it, we kissed. But it wasn't just a kiss. It was electric, overwhelming, like nothing I had ever felt before. And for a moment I forgot everything. I forgot that we were cousins. I forgot how wrong it was. All I could think about was how alive I felt, how much I didn't want it to end. But then reality came crashing down. The guilt, the shame. It hit me like a tidal wave. We spent the rest of the trip avoiding each other, pretending nothing had happened. And when we got back home, we acted like it didn't exist, like we hadn't crossed a line we could never uncross. And now here we are, living under the same roof, pretending we're just two people trying to survive. But it's all there, bubbling under the surface. Every time he looks at me, every time he smiles. It's like I'm back in Italy, standing on the edge of something I can't control. I want to be strong. I want to put my son first, to focus on being the mother he deserves. But there's this part of me, this selfish, broken part, that can't let go of Ethan. And the worst part? I don't even know if I want to. Moving out wasn't just about leaving Ethan's apartment. It was about finding myself again. About creating space to breathe, to think, to figure out who I was beyond the mess I'd made. I told him it was for the best, for me and for my son. He didn't argue. He just nodded, his eyes heavy with something I couldn't quite name. Maybe it was relief. Maybe it was regret. Maybe it was both. The day I packed my things, it felt surreal. This place had become a safety net, a refuge when I had nowhere else to turn. And yet, it was also the place where everything fell apart. As I stood there holding my son, looking around at the empty walls, I felt this strange mix of sadness and hope. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew I couldn't stay. The first few weeks on my own were hard. Really hard. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, overwhelmed by the weight of my choices. But little by little, I started to rebuild. I focused on my son, on giving him the kind of life he deserved. I went back to work, reconnected with old friends, and started therapy to help me untangle the mess in my heart and my head. Looking back, I can't say I'm proud of everything I did. I made mistakes. Big ones. I hurt people I cared about, and I let my loneliness and fear guide me in ways I shouldn't have. But I also learned. I learned that love is complicated, that family is messy, and that sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing. Ethan and I haven't spoken much since I left. I think we both needed time to heal, to figure out what this all meant for us. I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what was broken, but I hope someday we can find a way to be family again. For now, though, I'm focusing on me, on my son, on being the kind of person I want him to look up to. If there's one thing I've taken away from all of this, it's that life doesn't always go the way you plan. But even when you make mistakes, even when you lose your way, you can always find your way back. It's not easy and it takes time, but it's possible. And that's what I'm holding on to. To anyone out there who's struggling, who feels lost or stuck in a situation they can't untangle, I want you to know you're not alone. We all make mistakes. We all have moments we wish we could take back. But those moments don't define us. What matters is what we do next, how we choose to move forward. If you've been through something similar, or if you just want to share your story, I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the comments below. And if this story made you feel something, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.